Words appear. Whose plant life is it anyway? In association with Sterling Creation and VIP Tech Productions present Ask Donna. Donna Jodhan answers your questions and offers you tips and tricks on being an author, an expert, a sight loss coach, and an advocate. Ask Donna, the advocate.
Good morning, everybody, and greetings from Donna at the Ask Donna show. I welcome you to my weekly feature, and I want to thank my good friend and associate Victor Luvia for giving me this opportunity to be with you one more time. I have lots to say, and I will tell you that every week I wear a different hat. So for 1 week I wear the hat of an advocate, the next week I wear the hat of an author, the next week I wear the hat as a coach, a sight loss coach, and the next week I wear the hat of a so-called expert. I'm just bubbling over with lots to tell you, and for this week, but before I go into this week, I'm going to tell you about some of the features that I have planned for this month, some of the topics I will be covering, and we will go from there. So for this week, I will be wearing my advocacy hat, and it has to do with what is the meaning of accessibility. For the next week, I will be wearing the hat as an author, and the features I will be talking about as an author would be how you can use certain things to encourage, instill, to create, and to motivate your imagination and your creative juices. So as an author, I will be talking about the toasty tummy and paying attention to the soothing smells. As a coach, I will be talking about how one goes about hanging pictures on the wall, so make sure that these pictures are nice and straight. And I'll also be talking as a coach as an expert, I will be talking about accessible gym equipment and how does one make fitness programs more accessible. So those are some of the features I have lined up for this month. For today, however, we're going to concentrate on advocacy. You know, I will tell you that a lot of people really shy away from advocacy. And why? Because they think it's such a very, I don't know what the word is, but it's a very huge topic, a very huge area. It is a topic that really frightens and scares many people when they think about it, because, you know, they know how to advocate for themselves, but when it comes to the bigger picture, they are very much afraid to, take on governments, to take on entities, to take on anybody else. I have to tell you, it is not for the faint of heart. It is very, very intimidating, but you know what? If we help each other, we can definitely make a dent in this huge area, in this huge landscape. Don't be intimidated. I have learned not to be intimidated, and when you have folks like Victor giving me the opportunity to share my experiences, my skills, and my knowledge with you, hey, this is a terrific start, so let's take advantage of this, okay? Right. Let's talk about advocacy. And what is the meaning of advocacy? Well, I'll say we are going to do or go to a subsection called the meaning of accessibility, because this is one of the biggest issues that we continue to face when it comes to advocacy. What is the meaning of accessibility? Well, here are my views. If it is not accessible, it is not, let's go again. If it is not acceptable, it is not accessible. And this is easy to think about. If it is not accessible, it is not acceptable. So it has to be acceptable for it to be acceptable. If it is not accessible, it is not acceptable. So we have a starting point here. If it is not accessible, it is not acceptable. I don't mean to be a broken record, but that is where we start. Okay? If a workaround is required, it is not accessible. Let's go again. If a workaround is required, it is not accessible. And why is this? Because in the first place, there should not be a workaround for anything to be accessible. The minute you go and look for a workaround, you make it unaccessible or inaccessible. Why would you have to have a workaround if in the first place it is accessible, right? So if you're supposed to provide a document in an accessible format and you don't do it and you say, oh my goodness, I'm going to go and look for a workaround, it means it is not accessible. You have to make it accessible in the first place. No workarounds. Okay? If assistance is needed to access something, it is not accessible. Everybody, all Canadians, are entitled to their right to privacy, independence, and confidentiality. And if I have to go and ask my family, my friend, or my associate for sighted assistance, it means that it is not accessible. And it means that it is not accessible because I have to ask for assistance. If it were accessible, I wouldn't need to ask for assistance. So those are the 3 points that I'm going to focus on for this week. Let's go back and look at these 3 points again, or I'll just, outline them to you. If it is not accessible, it is not acceptable. If a workaround is required, then it is not accessible. Okay? If assistance is needed to access something, it is not accessible. Alright? So, the late Chris Stark, many of you would probably know him, many of you would not. One of his favorite quotations was, if you can see it, then I have a right to know about it. Let's go again. If you can see it, then I have a right to know about it. Think about that, and I'm very sure that if you have any questions, you will come back to me with my 3 points, and you will come back to me with Chris's quote. Alright. Now, before I leave you, I want to impart some information to you. It is my free monthly newsletter with tons and tons of tips and hints for you to look at. And, it's free. It's called the Blind Lifestyle Newsletter. And You can subscribe by going to https://www.donnajodhan.com/subscribe. One more time, https://www.donnajodhan.com/subscribe. Donna Jodhan is spelled DONNAJODHAN. Okay? And you can read more about this by going to https://www.donnajodhan.com/TBLN. Again, https://www.donnajodhan.com/TBLN. Right. Before I leave you, I have something interesting and I hope you will enjoy. It's called the mental stretch. Well, we do physical stretches, we do all kinds of stretches, but now it's time for my mental stretch. And how do we do this? We do this by using one of our senses to have a mental stretch. And for this week, I'm going to use the sense of hearing for our mental stretch. I hope you enjoy it, and here goes. Well, the sense of hearing is very important to those of us, especially to those of us who are blind, partially sighted, or vision impaired. But it's vital to everybody. So the sense of hearing is what I'm going to use this week for my mental stress. Think about it. I know it's still winter, but spring is coming, and you can look forward to those wonderful, sweet singing birds. Just listening to them is so wonderful. Yes, indeed. Or you can listen to the sounds of our little ones laughing their heads off as they run around at springtime. Let's prepare for spring and let's think of some of the things that we are going to hear when spring does arrive. That's my mental stretch for this week, folks. Thank you so much again. I want to let you know that if you have any questions, you can write to me at donnajodhan@gmail.com. This is a temporary email address for now until I get set up with a more permanent one. But for now, write to me at donnajodhan@gmail.com. Folks, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you for giving me your attention, and you take care. See you next week. Bye for now.
Tune in every Wednesday mornings at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, 7:30 a.m. Pacific for Ask Donna on Whose Blind Life Is It Anyway?